Every day, I work at the top of the stairs in my so-called office. All I can see is my computer screen and a wall with some pretty pictures from my kids. This is crazy because it's in the same room as the best view on the entire farm, with sweeping ocean vistas and green rolling hills. I couldn't cope anymore. And then I had an idea. I remembered something tucked away right at the back of the workshop. An old butcher's block top that I thought would make a great table. Somewhere where I could sit and soak up these views. It was unused and it came from a project that was meant to be put together about 2 or 3 years ago. It's a laminated piece of Saligna timber with steel bars running through the middle to prevent it from warping, so it weighs an absolute ton. Mind you, 95% of the work was already done and I needed a quick win here. All I needed to do was kind of get it to a place where I could get the belt sander on it, take off some imperfections from it sitting in the workshop for weeks and weeks and weeks and months, and get it to something that resembles a lovely table. It's a fairly straightforward process of just going with the grain and backwards and forwards with an aggressive sandpaper to get rid of all of the imperfections, things that may have gathered in, maybe a bit of water damage or anything like that. Of course, you have to flip it over and do the same to the other side with the aggressive 40 grit paper. And then with another belt sander with a slightly less aggressive paper on it, about 100 or 120 grit, we'll go on to finish the top and give it a much nicer feel to the touch. I'm not going to seal this table or anything just yet. I'd rather get it upstairs and being used straight away. So of course I had to do all sides with finishing paper, and it's not a tough job, it's just a bit labor intensive. The edges were a little bit tricky but really worth doing. The length of the grain really polished up nicely, and the end of the grain really showed the detail and the texture of the timber, which I really enjoyed. Now, I currently have hard edges on this thing, and I wanted to keep those before rounding them off so that I could use a little template I made just to make sure that the legs will be positioned equally around the edge of the table. A little bit of finishing off with some sandpaper just to get rid of some burrs as to not get any splinters, and back over to the actual top which I want to use. I'm using an 8mm rounded edge bit for the router. I didn't want anything too crazy, I just wanted to take off the sharp edges. Here I'm just sanding off, getting rid of any last little imperfections, getting ready to put the legs on. Now my choice of leg was a black powder coated hairpin leg. Reason for that is because of where the table is going to be sitting in the room. I don't want big chunky legs in the way of the view. This way the table seems to be floating and you can still see through underneath the table. So it's not very obtrusive and it doesn't take up much of the view. It's also pretty stylish, I think. Now, referencing those marks earlier where I still had a hard edge to make my marks with the template, I'm lining up the hairpin legs and using a self-tapping 40mm screw. Nothing complicated at all. Obviously the table has 4 legs, so if you're using a round tabletop, I would probably suggest using 3 legs. 4 legs generally more wobbly than 3. I just happened to have this piece of timber lying in the workshop and didn't feel like cutting it or modifying it at all, so I just went with a sort of conventional, straightforward 4-leg table. There's not much to it really, and basically that's it. So this was a really, really quick one. I'm pretty sure you could use any other timber that you have. It would all look great with those stylish hairpin legs. They're very slick, very modern, and give it a real elegant look. I'm very pleased with how it turned out. I love the end grain on the timber. I love the color of the timber. It fits really well with our aesthetics upstairs. And it gives me a place now to be able to sit and enjoy the view and have a break from my laptop. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing and following us along our journey. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Share it if you feel like someone else will be inspired to follow along, or perhaps they want to make a table and they're trying to figure out how. I really appreciate the support and enjoy the comments below, so please fire away. Thanks again, and see you on the next one.